So if you have ever considered starting a real estate team, then this episode is for you. Hey, what's up guys? Clayton Getz here. So I am joined by my good friend and business partner, Brad Ruckart, and Brad and his business partner, Tommy, run the Ruckart. Is it the Ruckart team? Is it the Ruckart group?
It's now Ruckart Real Estate.
It's Ruckart Real Estate now. Okay.
It started as the group, but now it's just a company called Ruckart Real Estate.
Ruckart Real Estate. I love it. Even better. So they both run Ruckart Real Estate and they crush here in Richmond, Virginia. And so we're going to talk about like the pros, the cons of, starting a team, because both of us, started out just like you probably started out, as an individual agent and trying to figure things out. And then we just decided at some point, we're going to try this team thing. So we're going to break down what that looks like for, mainly for Brad, but I'll jump in where necessary as well. So if you've ever thought about starting a team, what it looks like, the highs, the lows, the pros, the cons, we're going to talk about that today. So Brad, thanks so much for hopping on with us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it. We're happy to be here.
So, I have admired you guys from afar for many, many years now. We were at Keller Williams together for a long time.
We had an overlap.
And we did. And you guys just admired what you built, how you built it, the quality of the caliber of agents that you guys attract to your company as well. So just kudos to both of you.
Thank you
for that. So take us back, when you got into real estate, was it always like your vision, or Tommy's to start a team, or did you kind of fall, how'd you fall into that?
All right. So the easiest way for me to explain the reason why I decided to start a team is because I was having success as a solo agent for a number of years. And at the end of the day, the customer was hurting, because I wasn't well-rounded enough, or maybe not skilled enough to handle all the aspects of the business. And I knew that I wanted to grow, and I knew I wanted to be better. I also, growing up in life, was a member of teams through the sports. I played basketball, I played baseball. I was never the best player on the team, but the team was always successful.
I heard you were pretty good.
I might have been captains and or considered leaders of the team, but never the best player. And so I got to borrow other people's attributes to win more games, if you will. And it's not cheating. It's literally legal in business to combine.
It's legal in real estate too.
Yeah, it's to combine somebody else's brain power and or talents to improve the customer experience. And so
that's good.
Through sports, I kind of knew that I was ultimately more successful in team sports than ever I played individual sports. And then when I was suffering as a solo agent, I was actually doing really well financially, but it was suffering in silence, which I feel like a lot of solo agents do. And I just needed help. And at the time, I was at a different brokerage. Keller Williams pretty much wrote the book on a team concept, and they took me to either a mega camp or a family reunion, I can't remember. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. It was like, wow, this is the place to be. You were definitely the number one agent, maybe in the area, but definitely at Keller Williams at the time. And they had started recruiting me, and they had their hooks in me. I really liked everything that was being taught. And I was sneaking off and going to as many classes as I could, because, leaders are learners, if you will. And I was trying to learn as much as I can. At the end of the day, I was still just learning things and then trying to implement it on my own. And I was failing with the implementation because I was trying to still sell real estate and do everything on my own. And they kept reiterating the fact that you need help. It's okay. Everybody does. In order to grow, you have to break through a ceiling through the help of others, which is leverage. And at the time, Tommy, my business partner, was living right beside me, and he saw how hard I was working. I kept venting to him when we would hang out about there's some beautiful things about this business. I love it. He could feel my passion, but he's like, there's these other things that I'm really not good at, and I'm dropping the ball on, and other people are suffering. So he came in with the point. I was like, dude,
what was he doing at the time?
He had just Tommy's had 9 lives, so he's done a lot of different things. He's retired military, if you will, and he was trying to find his way.
He looks like retired military.
Yeah, and he does yes, and he's a protector. He's super intelligent. At the time, I think he was actually unemployed at the time and looking for his next gig. And I was like, if you could just ride shotgun with me and contribute where you think you can add value, you will, because you're ultimately a really smart person, and you know that there's some things falling behind the cracks that you could easily clean up, and we could do this together. And so I didn't do like a national search to try to find a partner. It was just like my neighbor, I loved him, he loved me, we were friends and buds, and we were like, he knew that he could feel the passion, and he liked serving people as well. So he jumped in, got licensed. And we were still at the
So I'm gonna back you up for just sorry to cut you off, but I'm back you up for just a second. So when he jumped in, was there already a team in place?
No, it was just me.
Just you.
And he knew that I had been brainstorming about the concept of a team and knowing that I needed help. And it's the future of real estate, if you will. And I had already known, like I said, from previous sports experiences, that a team can operate more effectively than a solo. So
give the listeners a little more context here. So as a solo agent, what kind of production were you doing?
I think the max I did was maybe 60 houses a year. You got to keep in mind that my average sales price was probably like maybe 110, 115. Like I was not selling $800,000 houses.
Really?
Back in the day, yeah. I mean, I started when I was 20. I've been doing this for 25 years. So 2003, 4, 5, like. I mean, and then even when the market crashed, when Tommy joined me in like 2009, 10-ish, if you will, and I remember selling $80,000 houses because like the 150 are now 180, and we went through that. Basically, the market was rebounding at the time, and it was starting to pick up again, and that's when I was like, I need help, and instead of like organizing a legit plan, even though Keller Williams had written the book on it, I was like, Tommy, get your license, help me, serve where you can, jump in, and he did. And what we realized, this is the number one thing I learned, if you hire somebody without giving them a defined role, you become their admin. And I hated being Tommy's admin, and he knows that. Like that was like the crux of all of our arguments. He was wired to go sell. He was great at selling. He could be the tip of the spear and get a deal done and engage with customers. And he knew how to do the business after riding shotgun with me for a while. And I was like, we're both hunters, if you will. So we needed to hire an admin, and we decided to make the transition to Keller Williams, and we brought on a few other agents and an admin. Our admin, Claire, our first hire was phenomenal. We got lucky. Some people struggle with their first hire. I would say the right person's out there, but we got really lucky with our first one, and we had like exponential growth off the ability that like, we're doing this at a high level, but we're doing the things that we like to enjoy doing. Like the high income producing activities of an agent. And we had an admin that was phenomenal at everything else. So my mistake was that like I brought Tommy to do the stuff that I didn't want to do, and he didn't want to do that either. But the beauty of it is like, okay, we're both actually good at sales. Let's combine our income, formulate a business, and we actually went and got a business agreement drawn up and everything, and then we started hiring admin from there. So that was how it all started, basically.
Okay. So you did it all wrong, and which is what most people do, and we're gonna tell you how to do it right. Okay, and one of the things that Brad just said I think is really important is they got lucky. Well, in business, you don't want to get lucky, and we figured this out later on, right? Like you want to have a process for attracting, interviewing, referencing, checking references, like a whole hiring process. And we actually just did a video. Rebecca and I just did a video on this before you got here. About being slow to hire, quick to fire, and just getting really intentional about defining who you are at your core. What are your core values? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your mission statement? What's your reason for existing as a company? And that becomes the filter for hiring, of course, right? If people don't align. Admin, agents, sales partners, whatever, if they don't align, if you can't push them through that filter, they're not a good fit. Because the quickest way to destroy momentum and your company long term is to hire the wrong people. So you got lucky, and that's good because most people don't. I didn't with my first hire. It's my cousin. I love you, Susan. But it just wasn't the best fit, right? So, all right. So you guys are, you're both in sales at this point. You've got a rock star admin. You've got a couple of agents as well. Yep. All right. So let's pick up from there. Then what happens?
Well, you nailed it on hiring the right person. When we set aside the money and we're like, all right, we're going to make this hire on an admin, and we're like, it could potentially be somewhere around 100,000 if we met all of our metrics for this one person to hire, based off of the salary plus bonuses. So we had already kind of mapped out what this person could make. But luckily we kind of cheated because we weren't with Keller Williams at the time, but we had already kind of reviewed their playbook, if you will.
Where were you? I can't remember.
I was at Virginia Capital Realty. It was coming out of the foreclosure crisis, and they did a massive amount of foreclosure sales. But I actually learned a lot from Brian Ligon at the time, because he had a lot of admin. Like, he was a very admin-rich business model, a lot of hourly employees that weren't even incentivized per the transaction count. And then, so anyways, I saw how he benefited from having people with, designated responsibilities, and they handled that. But anyway, so a lot of agents don't slow down to think like, let me run this like a business. So I saw him do it. And then I read the Keller Williams book, if you will. And they actually said, this is the duties and responsibility of a first hire. This is what the pay range should be. This is going to, you leverage that and frees you up to go do the income producing activity. So we kind of had a map, and we did actually interview, I think we interviewed maybe like 12 people, and we had talked to other agents, and production was down at the time because basically the volume was down. Like, we were selling a lot of transactions, but the average sales price was literally around 100,000. And I might even be exaggerating. We did a lot of $50,000 sales. I mean, I sold some houses for 40.
So foreclosures and short sales?
Yeah. Okay. This was after the short sales kind of thinned itself out of the market, so it was a lot of foreclosures. But very cheap, not a lot of income, and not a lot of volume.
What's really interesting about this to me, what's your average price per sale today?
Probably like $475.
Yeah, and so I would have guessed actually slightly more than that. That's above ours. And so we'll get into this, because I'd love to know like the transition of how you went from foreclosures mainly to now.
That was just out of necessity to stay alive, to be honest with you. I never said I want to be a foreclosure specialist, because prior to that, when I was a solo agent, I was working in a new construction subdivision in Fox Creek for a builder, and he actually went under during the crisis, and I had to pivot and went over to Virginia Capital Realty. But I knew the market was coming back, and I knew that the trend was to build a team. I saw that he had actually done it successfully with admin support, and Keller Williams was knocking on my door, and you were at Keller Williams at the time, and I knew that good agents were there, and the win-win, the open-mindedness of hey, let's share our playbook, let's see if we can all succeed together. I was attracted to all that. I just thought that I couldn't afford it at the time, because Keller Williams Virginia Capital Realty was $400 a transaction, but then our transaction count, once we added our admin, was like 136 units. So do that times 400. It was actually cheaper to go to Keller Williams, where they were like, you're going to pay $22,000.
So I want to make sure that everybody heard that as well, because the flat fee brokerage model, it works really well if you're going to just sell a handful of houses every year. But if you want to scale your business, it falls apart pretty quickly once you start adding team members, and you're doing 100, 200 plus transactions. Just for some additional context, where's the business today? So what'd you guys do in 2025?
We're always evolving. Last year we did close to 250, if you will, and I forget the volume. It was maybe 130 million in volume. That's awesome. We have a healthy business. This previous year, I became a father for the first time, which is the highest calling of my life, and I endure every second of it. She turns 1 tomorrow, by the way. Awesome. So I'm a year in as a new dad. But so a little bit, some of this last year has been a little bit of a blur for me. So if you give me a hard-nosed questions, I would never intentionally try to not know the answer. It's just that some of it I got lost in the beauty of being
and it's also what's really interesting, and just to encourage some of you out there, if you ask me some of I'm more in tune with the numbers today because I'm just more plugged in. But I haven't always been that way. Most visionaries, business owners, they tend to not know their numbers but you should have somebody in the organization that are very, very cued in on that. All right, so I totally distracted you. So back to you've got Tommy, you got a handful of agents, and you're starting to scale. What did that look like, and what was painful about that process for you? Because there's always pain. As you're kind of figuring this thing out, or call it learning opportunities, right? So where did it get kind of painful for you as you were growing through this process, and was it worth it?
Yes, there's a lot to answer. That's a big question. Like I said, if I go back to when I was playing sports, if you want to get better, you have to practice, and you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you have to play with better people. And there was nobody thinking big at Virginia Capital Realty. And then so I moved over to Keller Williams at the time, where you were there, Mike Hogan, Rhonda Howlett, James Strum. Heavy hitters that I admire, and I still admire you. I mean, you're still thinking big and acting big and doing big things. And at the time, I was like,
I get bored when
we got to get in a bigger game. We got to get in a bigger, market, if you will, around people that are
bigger
doing
room. You hear that, Rebecca?
Get a bigger room. So that's itself, it can be uncomfortable. The other thing that, if I look back at when I was a solo agent, I was very buyer heavy. Like a lot of my business was like, if I sold 60 transactions on my max, 50 of them were buyer side deals, and then 10 were list sides. Those eventually turned into listings. So that's the beauty of the new agent that's listening to this, is that a lot of those buyers will eventually become sellers, and they'll have equity in that. And that's a good way to grow your business. But it wasn't sustainable for me, because I was running myself too thin, and that's why things are dropping through the cracks, because I'm running around in my car conducting business. So one of the uncomfortable things I had to do is be a listing agent. So like I had been able to train the agents that worked for us. Like Rick Smith was the first buyer's agent, and he was a broker and had a long list of success, but he was kind of winding down. And then we brought in Tommy's brother, Craig, who was like a ball of energy, the exact opposite of Rick. Needed, instead of having his stuck in his ways, he was like so much optimism. You can make whatever you want. Well, you can make whatever you want, Craig. And he was just going after it. So we had to try to mold him, and I really had to try to now coach versus like going and doing it. Now I had to slow down and help teach and be there for him. And it was really fun because he was phenomenal, and he was probably better at it and learning quickly. He learned quicker than I did, but I had experience. So I was able to leverage all that experience with him, and Tommy helped too. But the pain point was like me saying, I have to get listings in order for this business to survive. Like now we have buyer's agents who can now show the houses on nights and weekends, but we don't eat if we don't get listings. And then like Keller Williams was really big on selling the listings, leads, leverage. Get the listings, the leads will come, and then you leverage it through the admin. So I operated in that level for a long time. And then back to the team concept, eventually Claire moved on. She got her master's degree and became a school teacher. That's what she really wanted to do with her life. And that's how she feels like she contributes to society more than just being our admin. Even though I think it was more lucrative, honestly, working for us, because the way we structured her salary and the bonuses.
But she gets summers off now.
Right. She gets June, July, and August, which is when we're working our hardest. So she moved on, and I had to try to keep this thing going. Right. So like that was the pain. It was like hire the next talented person. And like you said, I had to really actually get good in an interview. I had to actually get good of knowing what am I looking for? What are the personality traits? And not only that, but as other agents too, like Craig came on and Craig was thriving. I think Craig might've sold like 63 houses in his first year, which is phenomenal. Like he was like a rock star, like a straight up rock star. And that might've been lightning in a bottle because he saw Tommy's success. He wanted to like prove it, but he did it. Right. And we all corralled around him and celebrated with him. And we benefited financially too, but we're like, we need to do this with somebody else. And then we brought on Josh Lee, and he's still with us, and he's a phenomenal agent too.
Yeah, he is.
And he's killing it. And, but they're a little bit different in the way, I interact with them just because they need it differently, but they're both phenomenal agents, and they adore one another. And now the business is kind of like, you ask where the business is, it's like we've got some core salespeople who are no longer just buyer's agents, they're also listing agents. And they're now almost like, it's almost like a brotherhood. We have other phenomenal agents too.
It's culture.
Yeah, it's a culture.
Yeah.
We've attracted Beth McCombs, who's got 28 years of experience. She does a lot in Virginia Beach still. Michelle Pope's a new agent. She's got about 2 years of experience. But
how many agents total?
You put me on the spot. I didn't think, probably around 10 in production. Josh has got a showing specialist, Nathan, and he does more than just showing specialist work, but he's kind of like Josh's right-hand man.
Kind of executive assistant.
Yeah. And then B.A. Walker, Josh Standard's coming along. He's putting deals on the board now. So it's constantly me coaching, but I'm still in production. And then our admin support staff, we still have a listing manager, full-time listing manager, Claire Johnson, who's phenomenal. We have a marketing specialist, Rebecca, and she's killing it for us. Like she's really finding out what our voice is and who we are by spending time with us, and then cleaning it up, if you will, and making it look good in the marketplace. And we've had a good reputation for marketing. There was a agent, well, she's an agent now, but Lindsay Engel, who did a lot of the branding stuff behind the scenes for us. And
you've done a really nice job with your brand.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I want to, people complimenting me all the time on that, and I can't take any credit because that was something that I had literally almost no input on. I just trusted the smart artistic brains to come up with the collateral. And I mean, and it gets to a point where like, I don't even approve it, Clayton. It's like, you know what you're doing. I trust you. And they put it out there.
So that you bring up a really good point that I want to pause on that for just a second, because you and I and Tommy, like we all have, certain skill sets, right? And, I think why your brand is so attractive is because you hired somebody that had a really good eye, for what looks good. And I mean, can you imagine what your brand would look like if you did it?
It would be the word. We wouldn't have have a brand. It'd just be me running around selling houses.
Rebecca's sitting behind the camera over here. I mean, she does that for us, and our brand is completely elevated since she hopped on board with us. So I think it's really important to figure out, and I wanted to ask you this, figure out what your lane is and how can you stay in that lane. And the only way that you can stay in that lane is you have to surround yourself with people that are more talented than you are in certain areas, right? So how today, like what's your role on the team today versus what Tommy, because you guys are like 50-50 business partners, yes? Mm-hmm. So what's his role today versus your role? And then I'm going to jump in on the business partner, and if whatever you want to share with like the pros and cons of having a business partner, because I think there are agents out there that, because I talk to them and coach them, that ask me the question, what does it look like to bring? I've never had a true business partner, like where I'm splitting 50-50, right?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of that, and what are your individual roles?
Okay. So the easiest way for me to explain it is that sometimes you go to a primary care physician, you have two doctors, and they both are doctors that are phenomenal at serving patients, and they own a practice together. Well, why do they own a practice together? Because one wants to take a month vacation and the other one will work, while the other one can go on a month vacation. If not, they're never going to take a vacation. Yeah. And so that's a little bit how...
Notice he said a month, not a
right,
week.
not a weekend.
He said a month.
Yeah, and when I was a solo agent, I would take mini spurts. I took a lot of vacations. I wasn't married. I did a lot of mini spurts vacations, and then even now, sometimes I still take mini spurts to rejuvenate. But now I could for real go for 10 days, and Tommy would hold down the fort, and he'd be able to answer all the questions, pay invoices, ownership responsibility.
Big benefit to having a business partner.
He's literally running a sales meeting for the team while I'm here with you. So it's almost like you've kind of...
Thank you, Tommy.
You've kind of duplicated yourself, and so you can extend a further reach, if you will. And Tommy does help make big decisions. So it can be a lonely sport. Sometimes you got all these decisions weighing on you, and to have an extra brain with equal, there's an impact to the decisions you made. So it's like, it's not me just thinking for myself. And a lot of times I make decisions that'll help his family because I admire and love and adore them as well. So like you have somebody that's incentivized to make a big decision with you and support you in the decision. And there's, besides the decisions, there's work to get done. So like he'll actually get work done while I am kind of tuned out, and vice versa. He'll take a vacation with his family and completely tune out and like literally turn his phone off, and the business is making money while he's gone. Yeah. So,
well, and it's nice to know that you guys have complete trust in one another to hold down the fort. If you want to take time off, right?
I will say that, and I learned this from Warren Buffett, the most important piece of a business advice I could give everybody, and this is what Warren Buffett said, is trust is the ultimate form of currency. It's literally more important than money. And if you don't believe me, go get in a business deal with somebody you can't trust. Yeah. And you're going to lose so much sleep. You're going to probably end up losing money. Even if you gain money, it's going to be short term. And then you'll be looking over your back and try to figure out how to protect it. Like Tommy would never intentionally try to hurt me or the company. It's not in his makeup, number one. It's not just because it's me, but that's just not who he is. And I would never vice versa do that for him. So like if you're in a relationship where you can trust somebody, you can actually grow. And beautiful things can happen. And you can bring other people into the fold that you love on differently. And Tommy has a way different personality than I do. He's more dynamic as far as empathetic and caring. I'm a little bit more driven. I'm a little bit more quicker to get. I'm more concise and quicker to get to the the result.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
you guys balance each other out.
It's a good balance. Yeah.
What's been the if Tommy were here, like what could you guys agree on that's been kind of a hard thing with a business partner?
Well, where you're going to spend, because you're going to incur expenses. And at the beginning, it was like, we need to hire an admin. And we even disagreed a little bit on what we should have paid our first admin, right? But all that kind of irons itself out when you see the benefits, because it's not like an expense, it's an investment. You have to, when you hire leverage, it needs to be like, as a business owner, you need to feel like you're investing, right? Versus it being an expense. And these are my fortune builders, if you will, and we're all building together and we're all collaborating for the greater good of serving our customer. But the pain points have been when the business isn't generating a profit and we've got bills to pay, and it's like, are we gonna have to let go of an admin to pay some overhead, which is a really tough place to be. But you're kind of sharing that with somebody too, so there's some beauty in that too. It's like then somebody else like understands, like, okay, we can weather the storm for a little bit longer. We have to go make more sales to keep this person hired, but if they're not paying off as an investment, we're going to have to let them go. And you did say quick to fire, and that's might have been where we're a little too slow, and the business has suffered profitable wise. But we also had, Tommy and I would always say, people over profit. So we had that in the back of our heads as a driving force for a long time.
Yeah, well, I think there's a difference, Brad, between, if you've got somebody that is contributing to the business, they're making the company money, they're a great culture fit. That's different from somebody that's gold. Just a drain, right? And so I think many real estate agents hold on to people way too long, out of fear, pain. You become friends with the people because we spend a lot of time with them, and it's really hard to let people go. But I'm just telling you from 21 years of experience, this whole letting go of people, releasing them back to the wild when they're a drain on the business, or just not a good culture fit, you gotta cut fast.
And you hold on to the fact that like they are beautiful and they do have contributing factors, but they had contributed in the past, but you don't see them showing up as their best self, and you don't see them actually improving on some of the things you need them to improve on. And it's a tough pill to swallow as a business owner, but having a business partner does kind of help you weigh the pros and cons, because
you just make Tommy.
You might see something.
Tommy fire him.
Well, you might see something. If you and I were running our businesses together, let's say we were business partners, you would probably notice something that I didn't, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then if we basically broke it down and talked about it, you could throw out some pros that maybe I didn't recognize at first, and I could throw out some cons that maybe you didn't recognize.
Yeah, that's a good point. And listen, there are a couple of different ways to look at this. Like if you're thinking about starting a team, and again, I've talked to many of you about what the business partnership looks like, and everything has its pros and cons, right? So if you want to go the business partner route, it's worked out really well for Brad and Tommy. Other options might be hiring a coach. Hiring a really good business coach. I have a good business coach, really good business coach, that I can bounce those same ideas off of. He knows my business intimately now, and so I can pick up the phone and be like, hey dude, like I've got this problem over here, and because he knows my business so well, we've been coaching together for a long time. You can also hire somebody. So I have somebody in my business. It's kind of like a Tommy. Your name's Sarah Hutchinson.
Okay, awesome.
And she knows the business really, really well. She's compensated really, really well, but she doesn't have ownership. And she runs the business, and she runs the business. And I have 100, just like you do, you guys and each other, I have 100% trust and confidence in her. And I too can now step away. I mean, there's a time, I get this a lot, and I'd love you to comment on this as well, where, agents are resistant to starting a team, because they don't want to manage people, right? They think they're going to have this other, another job outside. They're already drowning in the good ones, right? The ones that are very productive. They're already drowning in production. So like, I can't even imagine being responsible for somebody else over here. When in reality, is it potentially a little more work on the front end? Probably in the beginning, right? If it's your first hire. We also really try to hire self-managed, self-motivated people. Rebecca, again, behind the camera here, is a great example. There wasn't a lot of training. I mean, she's a problem solver. She just understands it. She spoke my language from the beginning. When I say spoke my language, like I tend to communicate in incomplete sentences. So I'm like, I'm not even sure what I'm saying. And she's like, I got it, Clayton.
She can finish your sentence.
Beautiful.
Tommy's the same way.
Beautiful. And you want people like that. You have to have problem solvers, and you have to have people in your world that are like, dude, Brad, don't touch that. Right. That's my job. Right. You get out of the way. Like I want her. I want everybody on my team. If I'm dipping my fingers into their role,
it's like you're undermining the role if you do it right.
Yeah.
So stay out of the way and don't undermine them.
Yeah. So there are multiple ways to build this thing, and back to the coach. I think getting in rooms. With you mentioned all those people. James Strum. me, obviously you guys,
Rhonda Howlett,
Mike Hogan. Rhonda Howlett, all of them, by the way, are no longer at Keller Williams, interestingly.
That's true.
Right? And I think you kind of graduate, at some point from these different models. But again, there are multiple ways to kind of build this thing out. And I'll mention this now. If you've never heard of the book called Traction, followed by Rocket Fuel, Traction is the operating system. It's called EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's the operating system that we use and have used for a long time to run all of our businesses. And it's an issue-solving operating system. And the one thing that I know we can all agree on as business owners is we all have issues, some absolutely. More than others. I know that we've got a lot of issues in our business. So if you don't have an operating system that is consistently solving those issues, and when I say consistently, I mean on a daily, weekly basis, then the needle doesn't move. Like, the reason we're having so much growth over the past couple of years is because we solve problems faster than most people.
That's true.
That's it.
And you take action, and if you make a mistake solving a problem, so what you tried, and then you learn that's not the right route, so then you try again and you fix them. A lot of people are hiding from their problems, honestly.
Well, they're hiding from their problems, Brad, but they're so stuck in production.
Exactly.
They're so busy working in the business that they never take the time to work on the business. And it's just hard to scale. It's hard to solve problems when you're selling homes, 7 days a week. Which most of us have been there.
And the beautiful thing is that there is unlimited potential in the marketplace. So the better you show up to serve the business, the more you'll get rewarded, and that becomes addicting, and you're never going to find the time to slow down. So you're just chasing income versus building a business. And the income is not sustainable unless you're going to reinvest it. I mean, if you're chasing all this income and reinvesting it, and the investment is now generating income, that's smart. And that's some of the stuff that I've done too. But if you can slow down and try to hire leverage, now the business can generate income without you having to touch every aspect of it. And the solopreneurs is what I call them. They don't take the time to slow down to learn that there is a different way. And that's, I've read books about it. I've been to all the real estate conferences about it. And that's kind of the stuff that you need to do to wrap your brain around it. And you're going to have to make a mistake along the way. Yeah. And you could get lucky and have a phenomenal business partner like I did. But you have to be open to that, Yeah. I do agree with coaching, though. Tommy and I have hired coaches over the years. And some of the coaching is, like I said, going to the conferences and getting in the room and talking to people that have done it before you and asking good questions. Yeah. And then trying to implement. And if it doesn't work, at least you tried. Yeah. But that's a whole nother beauty of the business, is trying to run your business and grow it organically to who you are versus just trying to make more sales. And making more sales is a good sport to be in, but I don't know if it's sustainable. It'll lead to burnout. And honestly, it's a little bit of a lonely sport. I had a lot of success and made a ton of money solo, and then all of a sudden I had nobody to understand how hard it was and cheer me on or me celebrate with. And then when I had my losses, there's nobody to be there for me when I lost.
Absolutely, Brad. And also it's at some point, I mean, I can remember being pulled away from vacation on more than one occasion. Because clients, they needed to see a house, and there was nobody else on the team. It was me. It was only me, right? And so I had to have the conversation with my wife and make the 2-hour drive back to Richmond to go show one house, right? And so I think I love what you said to start this whole thing off, and that is, you realize that you were dropping the ball on your clients because you can only be in one place at any given time, right? And so. So I love that you made it all about the clients, and I know that our customer service has gone up exponentially since adding human resources into the mix. So all that to say, what's next? When you and Tommy sit down and you talk about the future of this business that you guys are building, what's next for you guys?
Well, so we made we basically, like you said, graduated from Keller Williams about a year ago and got into Real. There's a lot of high producing agents at Real. A lot of people don't recognize that, but the James Nays, Jenny Comers, there's a really good high producing agents. So they're attracting the top performers in the area. But it does feel like we're financially aligned at Real, meaning it is a publicly traded company. And if we all do better and grow together and we're actually sharing each other's playbooks and serving one another, the business is going to grow to the benefit of every other agent inside the company. Where at Keller Williams, that was not the case. I mean, obviously, they did preach an open, collaborative mindset type business model that we all could try to run and grow independently, right? And earn income from there. But we weren't all sharing on the profits of the business, which it feels like that's an incentive to be at real for the company. And so we're thinking of like, okay, I've been doing it for 25 years. I got my license when I was 20, so I'm 45.
We're getting old.
But yeah, exactly. But it's like if I were to retire after, 15 years at Keller Williams, I had nothing to show for it other than the relationships that I had, which were good. That was very valuable. But there was no like, hey, here's a little stock portfolio that you built up over the years that you can now like take out and take a vacation and or just keep on the sidelines for a rainy day. So I do feel like being at a company that's going to reward us for all of our efforts and have stock options is part of the future plan for us, because we do want to eventually have something to turn over to the kids besides a job. Besides, hey, we built a job for you to now work your ass off at. It's like, no, there's a little bit of a nest egg here. So we're hopeful for that. Honestly, for me and Tommy, we're both kind of like sales managers, business owners, if you will. We've hired a sales manager before, and she was phenomenal, and she did a great job of things, but it just got to the nature of the business. We couldn't afford her anymore. She kind of outgrew us, if you will. And so we're always open-minded to the next step. But right now, it's really going deep with the agents that we have on our team, nurturing them when needed. If they need me to ride shotgun with them to go get a listing or do a buyer's consult, I will. If they need... if they like, I ride shotgun with them, so they're doing it, and I'm actually just helping serve them, I'll do that, or vice versa. And Tommy's doing the same thing. So we kind of feel like we're at a point where it's sustainable. We're not, I always say kill it without killing yourself. We're not trying to kill ourselves. We're trying to kill it, like just do the best we can at the business, but then also enjoy like being fathers. Tommy's a baseball coach. I coach basketball. So we want to be able to just be involved in the community and not be like business owners that are running, just trying to produce. It's like I feel like we feel whole now. Like we can actually breathe and enjoy the time with our agents, and nothing feels like a nuisance.
That's the whole, like, that's why I think we have this concept, like people get into real estate and we're gonna have all this time freedom. It's like, if you're productive in this business, you're not gonna have any time freedom unless you learn to build a business, and that's what we're talking about here today. And I didn't necessarily in the beginning when I looked at this kind of team building thing, I didn't have the vision at the time to see where it would end up today. Now that and here's the other interesting thing, when you build one business and you build it well, you can apply that to other businesses. Right? So we have a couple of verticals that are all scaling and very profitable today because we built one business, a real estate company, and I'm just applying those same principles to the others. So, but it's the time freedom. I have two daughters that one is going to school this year, and it just flies by. It just flies by, brother. So enjoy.
She's off to college?
Yeah, Liberty.
Awesome.
Yeah,
oh,
Liberty.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That is a beautiful campus, by the way.
Yeah. But I've got Samantha. I've got my youngest. I've got 2 years left with her. So having the time to, I don't miss a game. I don't miss a game. I don't miss their stuff. But I did in the beginning. I did in the beginning because I was working 7 days a week. So when you're thinking about building a team and building a business and surrounding yourself with people that are more talented than you are at certain things, working with buyers, working with some, it doesn't matter. Like that leverage will eventually give you your time back. And by the way, the point to, if you don't want to manage people, I don't manage anybody. Right. I don't.
You lead.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I lead and I cast a vision, but I don't manage anybody anymore. Like at all. Like that's right. And,
nobody loves the accountability.
But I have people that manage people, and they're good at it and they enjoy it, and it's just not my favorite thing. I'm just a visionary, right? So just to encourage you that it doesn't have to look like that forever. In the beginning, you're probably going to wear multiple hats, but having the vision to like look over the mountain, right on the other side is there's a tremendous amount of freedom and opportunity and growth along the way, right? All the stuff that we learn.
This business, if you really get into production and try to grow through others, success through others, which was like a thing Keller Williams always said, it's going to force you to grow because your business will only be effective when you are, and you're going to have to learn how to take better care of yourself. You're going to have to learn how to take care of others so you can serve at a higher level. Right. It is like a human growth experience as far as your individual growth is concerned, even if you're surrounding yourself with other people or not. Yeah. And you will have to surround yourself with others. Even if you're a solo agent, you're going to have to rely on vendors. You need a good title company. You need a good lender. You need a good home inspector. You need a good roofer. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So you're going to eventually communicate with others at a high level, and you have to depend on others. So this business will force you to dig deep and try to improve who you are.
Such a good point.
And it's a journey. It's not like a quick fix, get rich quick scheme. It's like, but you can cast a vision for yourself in growth, and you can maneuver, if you own the business, out of aspects that don't fuel you anymore. Yeah. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing because it needs to get done, and you can hire somebody else to do it, and they'll love and thrive at it.
That's right.
And they'll contribute.
That opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. Love it, man. I love it. Well, Brad, I know how busy you are with the little one and all the things you have going on. So I sincerely appreciate you carving out some time to come to the studio and hang out with us today. So anything else you want to add before we wrap?
No, thank you for your time. I've always admired your open-mindedness and your ability to still think big. There's a lot of guys that have had success in this business and then they jump out, and it's like, you're committed. And that's the thing with this business too. It does require commitment. Mm-hmm. You're committed to the business. You're committed to people that are inside your ecosystem, if you will. Like, you're always loving and caring and nurturing, which is a huge thing because it can be, I don't want to say a dirty sport, but it can be exhausting. And then you get around other people that care and check in on you. It feels good. Yeah. So thank you for being that for many of people, not just me. But I do feel like our best years are ahead of us. I know that we briefly touched on it with Keller Williams. I adored that company. I learned so much from there. I had a coach at the time who had been with Keller Williams for 20 years, and I asked him straight up, I was like, I don't want to give his name, but I was like, is Keller Williams' best years behind them? He's like, yes, there's a new playbook in town. It's not the franchise model. The Keller Williams' best years are behind them. You need to consider like an EXP or a Real. Like that is the new model, because people are incentivized by actually having a financial alignment with one another. Like, if you do great, and if I do great, and we actually grow Real, we all can actually win. And I know you're a byproduct of that. So thanks for being the shining light and reminding people, like, hey, we can all collaborate together and do great things, assuming that nobody cares who gets the credit. And that's what we always tell inside of our team. Like, the company is my name, but it's not just me. Like, the people at work know, like, they're just as valuable, if not more valuable at times than I am, and they're leading me at times. So I would say stay in the game. That would be my biggest advice, is like, real estate rewards the people who not just survive but thrive and continue to do it consistently. It's the people that jump in and make money quick, they burn out, they flash out. And that's what I said I admire about you, is like, you've done it sustainably for a long time, and you're still finding ways to make a new impact. So,
well, thank you, brother. Yeah, I've thought about it before, because I took a year off back in like 2015 and played a lot of golf and drove my wife crazy. But what I realized was, like, I was bored.
You enjoy,
I enjoy building, man. I enjoy building. I enjoy leading. But thank you so much.
Well, you're good at it.
Kind words, Brad. So, and thank you to everybody that's listening to this. I really appreciate you spending time with us and checking out the podcast. It really does mean a lot. Your comments mean a lot as well. We read them all, so don't stop. And we will see you next time. Thanks again.
Thank you.